And tonight we're going to talk about not compromising, the importance of a husband standing up for his needs, his opinions. And the reason why this is so important to understand is because a lot of times you will invest effort into your marriage, but if you keep on sacrificing your own needs, number one, it's not natural. Okay, and I'll go deeper soon as we go through the live. But number one, it's like you never fell in love because you compromised. You never felt excited and motivated and wanted to invest in the relationship and with selflessness and unconditional love because you were sacrificing your needs all the time. Number two is it robs you of your fuel. If you're going to be investing in a marriage but constantly having your legitimate needs not met, disrespected to the point that you don't feel comfortable bringing it up or you don't know how to stand up for it, it then robs, even when you want to do something for the marriage and you do it, but it takes away your motivation. And number three, it's actually strategically impossible to constantly give up on what you think is right and always do what she wants because she doesn't really know what she wants. What a woman is after a feeling. I'm going to explain. We're going to go into a lot more depth in just a couple of minutes. Okay? But it's so important to understand what no compromise is and why you need it for your marriage, because otherwise you're going to keep on investing with a good heart, with a good intention, but you're going to find yourself frustrated. It's unnatural, it's unsustainable, and eventually it backfires, okay? Now, if you guys are with me, I know there are usually a lot more guys because we do it later. Today we're doing it a little bit earlier than regular live, but if you're with me, just give me a thumbs up, say hello, so I can see you in the chat. And of course, if you have any questions, I'll check it before we wrap up the video. So, a couple of weeks ago, we had a long video training over here on one of our Monday evening trainings, and we spoke about marriage cancer. And it's an important video. I'm not going to repeat that entire video now, but there are two parts of marriage cancer, really. And in that video, we spoke about the marriage cancer in terms of you can't figure out really her needs. Like, you can't figure out what she wants. You can't figure out, hello, Jean, welcome. You can't figure out what she really is truly asking for. You can't get through her mixed messages. She doesn't feel your unconditional love. She has the wrong image of you in her head. So essentially, if you had to break down marriage cancer in a very simple way, in under 30 seconds, type A is where you can't meet her needs. Type B is where she can't meet your needs without fighting. And tonight we're going to be focusing on type B. Now, just to be honest about it and be just realistic, usually marriage cancer is going to have a mix. So most guys, 99% of guys who have marriage cancer, it's going to be a combination. It's not going to be like, is it a type A or is it a type B? People don't fit into boxes. It's it's a combination, but usually one is going to be dominant, okay? And you have to know accurately which one is it. What's the main thing that bothers you? Hey, Robert, welcome. What's the thing that really bothers you? Is it the fact that she has needs and I can't figure out how the hell to do it because she keeps on shifting her needs or whatever it is? Or is it I have needs? And just be honest about it. Don't feel uncomfortable and don't try to impress anyone. Answer the truth, and the guys who are here right now live, so answer it now. If you're listening to this when it's being recorded, pause the video. I mean, in other words, if you listen to it when you have the recording available, once the replay is available, so you'll be able to pause it. Right now, you probably can't. So answer the question, percentage-wise, how much of your frustration is coming from the fact that I can't figure out what she wants, and how much of it is coming from the fact that I can't have my needs met? And don't say 50-50. This is one of the most common things. People try to say 50-50. Usually when someone tells me 50-50, it's their way of not answering the question. It's their way of just trying to sort of not say something. It's usually going to be either 60%, I can't figure out what she wants, 40%, I can't have my needs met, or 70-30, 80-20, or vice versa. Okay? Just going to welcome a couple of more guys. Hey, John, welcome. I don't know if you're new or not, but welcome to the Facebook Live. But answer this question and type it over here in this chat right now. What's your percentage? You don't have to get this accurate. You just have to start the process of being honest, because if you pursue a strategy of fixing a marriage because you can't figure out her needs, but really what's really bothering you is that you can't find out a way to get your needs met, you're going to find yourself a little frustrated. Okay, gotcha. 60-40 which way, Gene? You're saying 60-40, but which way? Is it 60% her needs you can't figure out, or 40% you, or vice versa? So when you say a number, give me a percentage. And tonight's focus is going to be on type B. I'll be straight up with you, right? In that previous marriage cancer video, if you watch it, it's in the unit section, and it's a great video. But the focus over there, if you notice, was primarily type A. But tonight we're going to focus on the type of guy that it seems that her happiness, the wife's happiness, depends on him sacrificing. That he has to, in order to please her, in order to appease her, in order to pacify her, he has to give up on his opinions. He shouldn't express his opinions. He has to compromise his opinions. He has to sacrifice his opinions. That's going to be the focus. That's going to be the focus of tonight's training. And this goes really deep, because it really, really is a big mistake. Now, people make this mistake out of sincere good intentions, because they want to give, they want to love. But it really is a big mistake. And I'll get into it in a minute. I just want to see in the chat what's going on over here. So John says 70 to 80 of her needs, as I don't know them. Okay. So 70, 80 about her, and 20, 30 about yourself. 60 type A, 40 type B, Gene. Okay, gotcha. Makes sense, okay? And there's no point to try to impress anyone. Just say the truth the way it is. This is a safe place. Now, why is it such a big mistake? A bunch of reasons. Number one, like I said before, it's not natural. You can't fall back in love differently than the way you fell in love to begin with. You never fell in love because you were sacrificing. You didn't meet a woman and just be crazy over her because you were giving up on all your needs. It's not the way it works. There was something in her that was actually feeding your needs. That was feeding your ego in a good way. She made you feel handsome or intelligent or funny, or something about you that she really loved and actually stroked and made you feel better about yourself. So the reason why you can't keep sacrificing is because it's unnatural. You cannot fall back in love differently than the way you fell in love the first time. Number one. Number two is, if you keep on sacrificing your needs and you keep on just doing what she wants and always asking her what she wants and just doing it, that desperation actually gives away the fact that you have no idea how to read her heart. That desperation tells her you have no confidence, you have no strategy. But worst of all, what hurts a woman is that the guy doesn't really know what's inside her heart. And we'll soon explain in more detail why she's unable to tell you what's inside her heart. But that desperation confirms your ability to not be able to read her, which is one of the key symptoms of marriage cancer. The inability to read her heart and to read through her mixed messages and to go beyond the confusion and the pain. Another reason why compromising hurts you is because it ruins your motivation. Like I said before, you can't invest with joy and selflessness over a consistent period of time. You can do it temporarily, but you can't do it over a prolonged period of time because your needs are not being met. Another issue is eventually you end up giving up. But if you keep on sacrificing your needs, it comes a point that you just bust and you give up. And if you've ever seen the Inner Cat video, you know what I'm talking about, right? We have it in the, if you haven't seen it yet, it's in the Aim Before Your Fire training. So there's only a limit you can go before you bust. But the real issue isn't that you bust. The real issue, listen carefully, is even, and guys, if you get this, you're going to be on your way towards healing your marriage. The real issue is not when you give up on investing in your marriage. The real issue is when you're actually investing in your marriage and you're loving her and you're doing things around the house and you're paying the bills and you're writing her letters or notes and you're working on the 5 love languages, or you're trying to talk to her, communicate and be polite and kind, all that stuff. The real problem is happening then, because if you're sacrificing at the same time, she feels it. She feels your frustration. She feels your resentment. And that makes her feel like you're not investing with unconditional love, even if you are. And this is the part that guys don't understand. You can have unconditional love, but what matters is how it registers on her internal radar. And we'll get to more. But the basic principle of marriage cancer, one of them is that you have unconditional love, assuming you marry the right woman and it's your soulmate, or you just know she's the right one, whether your soulmates or not, doesn't matter. But she doesn't feel that 100% love. She doesn't feel it. She doesn't trust it. She has the wrong image of you in her head. So that's a basic thing. And when she sees your desperation and she feels your frustration because your needs are not being met, what happens is that actually tells her in her woman's brain is that he's desperate, he's not doing it out of love, he doesn't really know what he's doing, he's just doing what I'm saying, but he doesn't really love me. Now, and this comes to the main point, which is if you only do what she asks and you don't stand up for yourself, it's impossible to please a woman and do everything she wants because her lists keep changing. It keeps changing. And by guys, post over here if you've ever seen this yet. All right. I'm just checking it over. We have 75, 25. Yes, 75 me, 25. Thank you for the honesty, Tony. By the way, Scooter. That's true. That's Jonathan Baum. That's my main problem. Yes, we spoke about that once. The reason why she's unable to. So let's just go basic. Comment over here if you've ever had a situation where she gave you a list of stuff that she wants you to do, and you do the list, and it doesn't hit the spot. It's like a week or two later, or a month or two later, or 3 months later, you find out that it wasn't done right, or it's not really what she wants. Why does that happen? Why do her requests keep shifting? And I'll tell you in a minute. But because it keeps shifting is another reason why you can't just keep compromising. You can't just keep giving in. You can't just do what she wants. Because what she wants is based on her wrong image of you. Which for example, I'll give you a simple example. Very super simple. If a woman wants space, wants to separate, if you do what she wants, her plan leads towards divorce. Because she doesn't trust you to figure out. Her plan, if she separates, all would happen during that time is it will confirm to her that she's happier off without you. So you can't just do what she wants in the interest of saving the marriage. It just doesn't work. So, well, why doesn't she know what she wants? So we once made a long video about it. I'm going to just tighten it up because we have a lot to cover today. But there are 4 basic reasons why she doesn't know what she wants. Number 1, women chase feelings. This is not a criticism of them. This is just a reality. They're chasing feelings. And there could be hundreds of different types of feelings. So let's just keep it really, really simple. Let's just, for the purpose of this, simplifying this training, let's say she wants a feeling of importance. So she gives you, now, there are 2 things. Number 1, people don't really know what feeling they want. But even if they know what feeling they want, assuming they do know, they do not know how to get that feeling met. Because she might feel, it happens very often, oh, I'll feel important if you do A, B, C, D, E. And she gives you a list of stuff to do. Now, she might not even consciously know she's looking for importance. But she's looking for a certain feeling, and sometimes she doesn't even know what she's looking for, or she might know what she's looking for, but she doesn't know how to get there. So you could go ahead and do that whole list, and then what happens is, you do the list, and she didn't get that feeling. Because like I said, most people do not know how to have their feelings met. So then she finds a reason to complain and say why she's frustrated. Those are 2 reasons why she's unable to tell you. Number 1, she doesn't know what feeling it is. And number 2, she doesn't know how to have it met. Or she wants to feel emotionally safe. So she'll tell you a bunch of stuff, and you'll do it. And you'll say the right things, and you'll do the right things, and you'll look at her the right way, and the right tone of voice, and try to act patient and not irritable and all that. And control your anger, but it doesn't hit the spot emotionally. There's certain feelings she's after. And in fact, once you dial in how to do that feeling, you actually could do less. Because you're more strategic, you're actually aiming before you fire. The 3rd reason why she can't tell you what she really wants is because very often she doesn't trust you. She doesn't trust you with her innermost emotional needs. So she'll pick on external things, like the things around the house, or things that you say, or things that you do, or she just won't tell you. And the 4th reason, which applies even in pretty decent marriages, by the way, even without marriage cancer, is she wants you to figure it out. There's a desire in a woman to not have to explain everything to a man. She wants you to figure things out. She wants you to remember things she told you 4 years ago or 7 years ago, or she wants you to just figure it out on your own because it makes her feel loved. It makes her feel like you care. It makes her feel that she has a man, she has a rock, she has a leader. And that's why you cannot do everything she tells you to do because it's never going to be the real issue. The real issue is going to be an emotional one. And she can't tell you how to do it, and she usually won't trust you with it anyway, because she wants you to figure it out. So let's back up to the point. This is why compromising is a huge mistake. It's a huge, huge mistake, and it happens very, very often. I'm just gonna look at some of the comments over here in the chat. Yeah. Got it. So, Jonathan, she told me she did not want to marry herself, but a man she did want to marry. I don't understand that. If it's a question, just make that a little clearer so when I look at it towards the end, I'll be able to answer it. Okay? Jonathan, thanks. So let's back up for a minute and look at a broader picture of what marriage cancer is. And we're not going to go through the whole thing. We had a long video about it. The 5 components of marriage cancer, I'm going to package a little bit differently now for the purpose of our training so you understand it. Number 1 is you have unconditional love, but she doesn't feel it. It's not 100% registered on her radar, okay? Which hurts her. Number 2, she has needs. You can't figure out what she wants. And you have solution confusion, that you don't know what to do, and therefore you're trying everything. Again, that hurts her, or hurts you too, because you look desperate, okay? Now, number 3 is you missed warning signs. When you have marriage cancer, you get blindsided. You don't see little problems before they become big problems. You see them only when it explodes, and that's usually when the wife will say, oh, I've been suffering for years. This is going on for 7 years, and the guy's thinking it's been just 2 months, right? Happens all the time. It's sad, but true. And tragic. That is a symptom of marriage cancer. Symptom number 3. Okay, in this video we'll call it number 3. But that's all part of not being able to read her. Since you're not able to read her and read her innermost feelings, you're also unable to identify warning signals. Number 4 is that she's stuck with an image of you that's not true. She has an idea in your head about who you are that's not really true. She doesn't really know your heart. She doesn't really know your love. She doesn't know your sincerity. She doesn't know your real intention. And she keeps on, and therefore, whatever you're doing to heal the marriage or work on the marriage is bouncing off something in her brain that's conflicting with what you're doing. And number 5, which is what the purpose of today's training is, you end up having to give up on all your needs, which is tonight's topic. That you, in order to satisfy, in order to shut her up sometimes, in order to make her happy temporarily, you have to give up on your needs. But here's the point. The way you can have your needs salvaged and be respected and have your opinions respected and your needs met, your legitimate needs met, is by addressing the first 4 symptoms of marriage cancer. Okay, I guarantee you this, I promise you this thing. If you have to keep compromising to make her happy, it's because you have the other symptoms of marriage cancer. No doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. It's simply impossible. Because I'll tell you what, because what's happening is, because your unconditional love is not being felt, because you can't figure out what's in her heart, because you miss all the small warning signs, because she's stuck with the wrong image of you in her head, therefore, automatically, all your needs and opinions are just, she's gonna fight everything. She's going to be frustrated with everything, and she's going to say things that are inconsistent, ridiculous. You're going to have double standards. You're going to have shifting standards, because she doesn't feel that unconditional love, because she feels you're unable to read her heart, because she feels you're unaware that something's bothering her for years and you don't even know about it, right? And basically, she's stuck with an image of you in her head, and therefore, automatically, you're not going to get the respect. Now, respect is very important. The thing with respect is it's like part of a cake. It's part of a recipe. It's like frosting on a cake. You have to put it on the cake after it's baked, not before. And what most people try to do is get the respect prematurely, and that backfires, okay? It really, really doesn't work. If I have seen the difference between marriages that survive and thrive and marriages that limp forever, and I'm not even talking about divorce, because quite frankly, my issue isn't divorce. I'm not looking to just stop divorce. I'm actually more concerned about people staying in miserable marriages for 40, 50 years than them getting divorced. That's my thing. You may like it, you may not like it, but that's me. Okay? That's my opinion. I think it's far more painful and brutal to be stuck in a marriage where there is no passion, there's no intimacy, there's no respect, there's no appreciation. The kids suffer. There's no role model of a healthy relationship. The kids don't like being home. The kids are you're role modeling a negative marriage for them. I think that's worse than divorce. Just my opinion. Take it or leave it. And I'm not trying to sell you on that. My point is, my goal is to save people from miserable marriage. And I've seen the difference between people who stay in a miserable marriage. Listen carefully. I'm not talking about divorce. People who stay in a miserable marriage versus people who go on to build a thriving, amazing marriage. There's one key difference. You ready for this? One of them have low standards, and one of them has high standards. That's the difference. That's the whole difference. High standards, and I'm going to explain it. High standards means that you have the idea in your head of what marriage used to be. You have an innocence in you, you have a purity in you, you have a certain strength in you, and you know what marriage is supposed to be. It's supposed to be an amazing experience that gets better and better over time, not worse and worse. It's supposed to be one where the sex is exciting and it's passionate and you're respected and your wife asks you your opinion and she tries to meet your needs consistently and happily. It's supposed to be one where you don't have to beg each other and negotiate constantly to have your needs met. That is the purity and the innocence of what marriage is supposed to be. That's what I call a high standard. There are many, many people, unfortunately, some of you are in this group as well, who have settled. And you've accepted a low standard. You've accepted, for example, sometimes there's certain jokes about it, which are very unhelpful. For example, the joke, marriage ruins a good relationship. Okay? Where does it come from? It comes from people who have a lower standard, people who are miserable in marriage, and they want to settle for it. Instead of making themselves feel like they can improve it, they basically say, no, there's nothing to improve. Marriage sucks. That's what it is. Once you get married, it sucks. It's not the same. And they make a philosophy out of a lower standard. And for the guys listening to this who are thinking about higher standard and they're wondering, what do you mean? What do you mean higher standard? Marriage is about giving. It's about giving. It's not about taking. It's about giving. Let me tell you something. It's true. It's about giving. But if it's only about giving, then your marriage sucks. And that's why your marriage is suffering. Because you didn't marry just to give. You married to also get. If it was just about giving, you would have married anyone. You would marry any woman and just give her a good life. There's a reason why you married this particular woman. Why? Because there's something you wanted from her. So first of all, you got to be honest about it, right? Don't BS me or yourself. It is about giving, but it's also about getting. And if you've accepted it just about giving, then you're basically lying to yourself. You have a low standard for yourself and a low standard for her. And what happens is, you can't fight for the marriage in that place. Because the moment she disagrees with one thing you did, you're going to stop. Which again confirms that you're under her spell and that you really don't know what's good for the marriage. So here's the thing. It is very important that a husband be respected in a marriage. Now, the tricky thing about respect is you can't ask for it. You can't demand respect. It has to come. It has to be automatic. Basic common sense. But some people make this mistake. You can't fight for your respect, but it is important for you to be respected, and it's important for her to be respected. It's important for your kids to see that you're respected. And it makes you feel better. It makes you want to invest more in the marriage when you're respected and appreciated. So that's very, very important. The problem is that you can't ask for it, and that the sequence is important, like I said before. It's like you have a recipe, you put the frosting on the cake after the cake is baked, not before. So you have to first address the first 4 symptoms of marriage cancer. You have to first impress your wife and show her, hey, I could read behind your thoughts. I can read your heart. I could identify your real needs. I have a strategy. I can unlock my unconditional love. You can start seeing past all the confusion, all the mixed messages, and start identifying small problems before they become big, and start changing the image in her head. Now you're in a position to stand up for yourself. Now that you've started identifying addressing those first 4 symptoms of marriage cancer, now you can say, okay, these are my needs. These are my intimate needs. These are my emotional needs. These are my physical needs. And they're legitimate. And I'm going to insist on it in an appropriate way. Not like a commander, not like just some rough person. But that's really, really important. Everybody gains from that. Everybody gains from that. So to summarize it, and I'll take your questions in a minute, but to summarize it, you didn't fall in love by compromising. And you cannot fall back in love by compromising. You cannot fall back in love by just doing what she wants and just doing everything she says. And if you have any questions over here, post it over here. I'll check. So now, let me just see some questions. So I don't know if you meant this as a question. So Jean, you wrote, she has unresolved family issues. Not sure how I can help her with that. So we have a couple of trainings on that. We have you have to message me to remind me, so like that someone on my staff will send it to you. We have a couple of trainings about how to deal with if your wife has deep-rooted issues. But I'm gonna be blunt with you, okay? And I'll say briefly over here, if you are doing everything I just said now, and you're addressing marriage cancer, you will become her safe place, Jean. You will become the person that helps her heal from family issues. The problem, and because I've seen this over and over with so many clients, the problem is not that she has family issues. I'll give you another example. I hear so many guys call me and they're PTSD, right? Veterans, served our country, PTSD, and they blame the PTSD for their marriage problems. And while I respect and appreciate their service, but my job is to tell you the truth. And the truth is, your marriage doesn't fall apart because of PTSD. The PTSD uncovers or aggravates an existing marriage problem and creates a higher level of aggravation and animosity. But if you had an incredible marriage, and if you had an ability to read through her mixed messages, let's go very simple. Very, very simple. If you knew how to unlock unconscious, unconditional love, right? That subconscious energy that we spoke about in many of our video trainings about the inner cat. If you knew how to do that, how to unlock it, how to identify what's blocking it, how to invest strategically, how to impress her with how you know how to read her heart. If you know how to identify smaller problems before they become big ones, and how to change the image she has in her head, you will become the safe place that's going to heal her from her family issues. You will become the husband that can heal her from her PTSD. From your PTSD, you're going to become the hero in the story. The reason why your marriage is suffering is not because of unresolved family issues, but because there's unresolved family issues and you're not the person that's able to help her through that. That's the issue. Okay? Other issue. She put me in the friend zone, said we have to work over it. I don't really understand it. I mean, okay, so I don't know enough about your situation. There isn't no, like, a cookie cutter thing over here. Essentially, when she puts you in the friend zone, essentially what she's saying is you're not a man. You're more like a child or a brother. You might be someone I like talking to, but you're not attractive to me. You don't have the leadership. You don't have the ability to confidently dial in my heart on a consistent basis. You're more like a partner, like for finances or for kids. And again, I don't know your details, Tony. Okay, so you can reach out over here if you'd like to do that. We can have a chat about what's going on. I'll have to ask a bunch of questions, of course, but there is no one cookie cutter. Even my clients that I work with, right? It's not one size fits all. There's different stages that people come in with different degrees of marriage cancer and different emotional resources. So it really depends, Let's see the other one. She's my everything, and I be honestly, it's mostly me. I don't treat her like she should be loved, and she does everything for me. Well, I appreciate that honesty. I guess that's not a question, Scooter. That's more of a statement. So congrats on your honesty. Ray says, I have the utmost respect for my wife, but it's hard to understand what it is she wants or needs when she won't talk to me. In my opinion, she's disrespecting me. No compromise. Exactly. And that's classic. That's classic marriage cancer, what you're describing. Okay? So definitely, just type don't compromise so someone on my team will pick that up. That's very common. Very common. Next, I do everything she asks every day and has no sex drive at all. Says she can't help it because we have kids. It's so hard not feeling a passion from her anymore. So, okay, Brandon, sex is always a tip of an iceberg. They made research that, like, the couples that are super, super happy in a relationship, I'll start with the ones that are not happy in a relationship. Couples who have a very frustrating relationship, a painful marriage, they blame 80% of their suffering on sex. And she says she has no sex drive, okay? So, number one, they blame 80% of the suffering on sex. 20% on other things. Couples who have an amazing marriage, listen carefully, guess how much of their amazing marriage they attribute to sex? You would think it's 80%, right? If people who are frustrated with marriage blame sex for 80%, so you would think people who are happy with the marriage would say it's good, 80% because of their sex life. It's not true. It's about 15-20%. Because couples who are in a great relationship understand that sex is a result of a good connection. It's not the cause of a good connection. It's the result of a good connection. And when you have a good connection, your wife will push herself to want to be intimate with you. Sometimes for herself, but sometimes for you. With kids, I have 6 kids. So I'm not going to go into specifics about my personal intimate life, but I'm just saying that it is really, really not the main factor. The main factor over here is the emotional connection. The main factor is how well she feels connected to you, and she will push herself to the limit and follow you to the moon if she's crazy over you. The kids are an excuse. Unfortunately, that's the truth. The kids are an excuse. And I understand you, brother Brandon. I'm not judging you. I understand the struggle that you're talking about, but That's my job, to tell you the truth. Now, I'll tell you another thing about sex. I've had this so many times with clients where they say, "Oh, my wife has no sex drive, no sex drive," and I say what I'm telling you. I say, "Look, it's not really true. She doesn't have sex drive for you." You know how many times I hear that my wife has no sex drive, and then we find out within 6 months that she has an affair going on. The same woman who has no sex drive had an affair going on, and I'm not saying that's happening by you. I'm not trying to scare you, but I'm telling you a fact. It's like 75-80% of the time. And the reason for that is because sex is just a result, especially for women. Especially for women, it's like an emotional thing. And if they feel close to you, they'll push themselves to be intimate. If they don't feel close to you, forget about it. And again, Brandon, you can message me. We have more trainings over here about my wife is not interested in sex or passionate in sex and marriage. We have a lot of specific trainings. The ones that we're doing right now Monday evening are more general that apply to more people. But you can message us and we'll send that to you